And it's Father's Day, so it's quite a special Sunday. But I'm quite happy to be here, speaking about the Bhagavad-gita on International Yoga Day. So I'm happy to be here for this. So is everybody hearing me loud and clear? Everybody here? And the idea today is to answer your questions. So if you have any questions that you came up with during this Bhagavad Gita week, I would love to hear you. Is everybody here? I'm not seeing any messages here on the chat, so if I just like to know if you're all okay. Atrisa, Hare Krishna. Tracy, where are you from, Tracy? Let me know what city you guys are in. Lori, okay. St. Cloud, Florida, all right. Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay. Noel, you're from Montclair, New Jersey. Fort Lauderdale. Bangor, Pennsylvania. Hi, Peggy, Heather. Good stuff. All right. So, who wants to fire off the first question? Dover, Delaware. Patricia is calling from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Oh, we have somebody from Leicester in the UK. Jai. Thompson, Connecticut. Okay, that's good. Fairfax, Virginia. All right. So yeah, today, International Yoga Day, and it's just so important that people connect more the Bhagavad Gita with yoga. It is the core yoga text, it's the root of all yoga. And people should absorb more. I mean, yoga is so wonderful, but you know, if everybody who was into yoga get deeper into yoga and understand the Bhagavad Gita, and their lives would become even more transformed and the world would become a better place. We have to make this connection and help people understand. I embrace that as my life's mission, to really try to share the Bhagavad Gita, because it's such a wonderful, incredible text, and it just keeps giving, it keeps transforming your life, and it can help people on all levels. You know, people shouldn't think that the Bhagavad Gita is just a religious book. Oh, it's like the Bible for the Hindus. I hate that. You know, it's not that at all. It's really on a different platform, because it's about yoga. And yoga is about how to organize your mind, how to work better with your mind so you can live better. And then, of course, yes, become spiritualized, you know, become liberated, attain bhakti, and etc. But on the path to liberation, on the path to salvation, is an amazing life right here today. So that's, you know, and it's stuff that neuroscience and psychology keeps proving right. You keep studying and proving right. It's all there in the Bhagavad Gita for so long. So let's see here. So Laurie has the first question here. I would like to understand more about karma and incarnating as an animal after a human incarnation. Could you please elaborate? Okay. I just recorded a video on that topic just yesterday morning, but in Portuguese, so I can't share it with you. And yeah, so first of all, one thing that people say about that is that they think that, oh, how can you reach a human life? How can you go down into an animal life? It seems like involution, they say. It's like devolution, like you're devolving. So it's devolution. It doesn't make sense. Like the soul should be on an upward path of evolution, but not devolution. Well, it's not really quite like that. Why? First of all, what are the conditions Krishna explains in the Bhagavad-gita for someone to take birth as an animal or lower or insect, whatever plant? What are the conditions for this, going down? Well, one of the main important topics of the Bhagavad-gita, of the yoga tradition in general, Sankhya, is the gunas, the material. It's usually translated as the material modes of nature. So the gunas, I just like using there's lots of terms, it's just better just to use the proper Sanskrit term. So the gunas, what's the idea of the gunas? Just very briefly, because that's the whole topic. Basically there are three gunas, right? Sattvaguna, Rajaguna, Tamoguna. And the idea is that there are three vibrations, as it were. I like using that idea, because guna means strings, so you can think of vibrations. So in Sattvaguna, it's something we have to cultivate. That's one of the beautiful things about yoga that's so different from the Abrahamic religions, in that the spirituality of yoga is tied with how you live. There is no like just have faith and then you just eat whatever you want and do whatever you want and behave however. No, it's actually just the one thing. So you have to live in the right mood to develop the best consciousness, and then with that you have access to the higher states of spiritual consciousness. So that highest stage, that highest style of living is called Sattvaguna. So in Sattvaguna, and it's such an important topic, the Bhagavad-gita has 18 chapters. And of those 18 chapters, 2.5 chapters are just about the gunas. That's how important the topic is. And the idea is like your lifestyle really matters. So the way you live, how you speak, how you act, how you eat, how you deal with life's daily duties, the dharmas, how you see the world, your standard of happiness, enthusiasm, and so on. The list goes on. All these things matter and influence your mind, and then with your mind is what you're going to use for your spirituality. So unless your mind is at its best, which you'll get with Sattvaguna, unless your mind is at its best, then you won't be able to progress spiritually. So that's why yoga is such a beautiful path. Again, that's why I said in the beginning, it's not just a religious text, because this whole process, the techniques for developing focus and peace of mind and controlling, and then learning about Sattvaguna and developing that lifestyle, all this makes for a wonderful life. Because Sattvaguna brings happiness. Even if you're an atheist, but Sattvaguna brings happiness. So it's the best way to live life. And it also happens to be the platform from which you can then have a proper spiritual life, where you can take off. So in Sattvaguna, that's the best kind of life, where you understand things clearly, everything becomes clear, you know what's going on in the world, you're no longer confused. Again, so that's the best style. But so going back to incarnating as an animal, Krishna says to incarnate as an animal, you have to be in Tamaguna. So what's Tamaguna? So Sattvaguna is the best. It's what we're aiming for in yoga. Want to win, and it's success, and it's it's just like building and success and winning, and which can has its good side, right? You get things done. It's like the whole European tradition. It's like America is built on this Rajaguna, success and make it great, and winning and all this stuff. So it's that, but again, it comes with a lot of anxiety and stress and and satisfaction, because you're always yearning for something else, and so that's Rajaguna. And then Tamaguna is just darkness. It's just like, it's the opposite of good. It's when you just, Krishna describes it as the result of Tamaguna is foolishness and craziness. So it's just foolishness, craziness. In Tamoguna, Krishna explains, what's right you think is wrong, and what's wrong you think is right. So it's just like you're completely confused. You're doing the opposite of what's correct. So it's madness, it's foolishness. So it's a very dark state of being. It's a very heavy state of being. He says it's people in Tamoguna who go down. So for one thing, you have to understand that it's a really low level of consciousness that takes a person down. The second thing you have to understand is that there's no such thing as devolution. For example, if we take a prisoner, if we take a criminal, you take a criminal, he's committed a criminal act, and then you put him in jail. You can't really say that jail is a step back for that criminal. I mean, if the justice system is working, if it's it's supposed to correct behavior, not just punish people. But if you see the penitentiary, the prison as a form of education, of reform, then going to jail, going to a cell is actually a step up for the criminal. It's not devolution, it's an evolution. Because now he gets the chance to reform. So in that sense too, when a human in Tamoguna who gets born as an animal, he then is not a devolution, it's an evolution, because then that person who he didn't know what to do with the human form of life, it was too much liberty, too much damage he was causing, too much pain to himself and to others. Now he gets restricted into an animal body. So it's an evolution for him. Another bonus, in the human form of life, it's very heavy karmic, it's a very heavy karmic zone. Unless you're practicing karma yoga, as you remember from the first class, you're basically accumulating karma at every step of the way. And sometimes like a lot. In one human day, you can accumulate karma for years. It's that heavy. Very heavy. So if you don't know what you're doing here as a human, you're better off as an animal, because animals don't accumulate karma. They live karma. They live their karma accumulated in previous lives, but they don't accumulate karma. So an animal can, eat its young, it can rape, it can kill, it can do whatever it wants, and it's not going to accumulate karma. You see? So if a person has these tendencies, then in an animal body, it can do all these things and not accumulate karma. So it's actually, again, an evolution. It's a progress. It's better. And lastly, what you have to understand about karma is that, like I explained in the first class, everything you're living is karma, right? I mean, there's nothing that can exist in the material world that I'm experiencing that isn't part of my karma. So, like the temperature here, where I am now, this monitor in front of me, everything here, what I'm wearing, what I look like, everything here is a manifestation of my karma in this life or previous lives. So the whole material existence for a soul is karmic based. Nothing is random. There's no such thing as random. So for a soul to be in an animal body, it has to have been created. It's karma. And where did that karma come from? Well, it must have come from a human or superior life form. Because only in those life forms do you accumulate karma. Because again, you don't accumulate karma in lower than human life forms. You only live karma accumulated. And then you think, oh, did that soul just come down from the spiritual world and it came down into a dog's body? That wouldn't make any sense. That wouldn't be very fair, from God. God wouldn't be very fair if he just threw you in, like you're just this perfect, soul in the spiritual, and then you're thrown into an animal body. It's like, whoa, wait a second. It's like, it's getting a perfectly innocent citizen and just throwing him in jail. Yeah, you just start from here. Like, whoa, wait a second. Why am I starting in jail? I didn't do anything, right? It wouldn't make any sense. So the Vedic viewpoint is that you actually start at the very top. And if you're into like whole Vedic, if you get deeper into Vedic, cosmology and understanding of the universe, you'll see that at the very top we have this figure called Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma is kind of like the general manager of the universe. He's the one who starts the universe. He has to create everything, and he stays like in charge of this universe from beginning to end. So it's this very top. He's way beyond the demigods. He's just like this, almost like godly being in running, like in charge of this. For every universe, there's this Lord Brahma person in charge. So this is really way up there. So the idea is that when you come down into the material world from the spiritual world, you would start as Lord Brahma. We all started as Lord Brahma. And then gradually we started screwing up, and here we are now. But, we devolved from Lord Brahma, and that's why it's called samsara, the wheel of fortune, up and down, the wheel of life. So we've been just going up and down according to our actions and stuff. So those are the reasons. Hope that makes it clear, Lori. Let me know if that made it clear. So we have Tina from New Jersey, Courtney from St. Petersburg, Constance from Arizona, Tracy from Tennessee. Kavita Patel from DC, Ruth from Philadelphia, Memphis, Tennessee. Nice. Happy Yoga Day to you all. Yeah. Joan Nixon, Northeast New Jersey. Okay. Smyrna Beach, Florida. Nice. Noel, just want to say I loved all the classes. That's nice. Thank you very much. Sandeep asks, what's the most practical way in making Bhagavad-gita part of one's daily sadhana? Well, I think we have to, it's not just the daily sadhana, in case somebody here doesn't know, sadhana means your daily practice. It's one of the things I really love about the spiritual part of yoga is that you have something called sadhana, where the idea is it's not just like a faith thing, not just a claim you make, not just like joining something, but you actually have to practice something every day. If you want to be better at piano, you have to practice every day. If you want to be good at any sport, you have to practice. And yoga has the same concept. If you want to do something well, you have to practice. So we have a daily practice. For example, my sadhana includes, in terms of the daily practice, japa, which is mantra meditation every day, study every day, like just doing what we're doing here, discussing Bhagavad-gita, studying, explaining it. So daily study, and something called prasad, which is a very interesting concept, and it's in Bhagavad-gita. And the idea is that everything you eat, you should first offer. So we call that offered food, prasadam. So prasadam or prasad, that's the spiritual food we eat. So it's a food yoga. A friend of mine wrote a great book called Food Yoga. If you want to really get to know more about prasad, you can look it up, Food Yoga. So it's a beautiful concept. It's very central to yoga and very important. So these three practices, we call that a sadhana. So do that every day. But Bhagavad-gita is much more, again, than just like a daily spiritual practice. It's much more than just the religious part. So to really put the Bhagavad-gita in practice means your whole life is practicing the Bhagavad-gita all day long. So what I mean, you live the Bhagavad-gita. You really have to live the Bhagavad-gita. It's not something you can just believe in, or pledge allegiance to. It's not that kind of thing. It's an instruction manual for how to live every moment of your life. And principally what that means in the Bhagavad-gita, and in class 3, I talked about it, I glossed over that concept, is basically mind in the here and now, focused on your dharmic action with that feeling of love, of devotion, of connection, of bhakti. So to really live the Bhagavad Gita, you have to practice, what I briefly explained in class 3, bringing your mind to the here and now, knowing yourself, finding out who you truly are, and at every moment truly doing the very best of yourself with devotion on top of all that, with like the general feeling of connection and devotion. So it's a beautiful way to live. And it takes some practice to get up to that level. Laurie, could you please go into a more detailed explanation of karma? Okay, did that one. Tracy, besides the Bhagavad Gita, what else should a new learner read to increase their knowledge about yoga and the enlightened path? Well, Tracy, there's 3 main books I recommend and study, and I've been studying them for a quarter of a century. So, Bhagavad-gita, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, very useful, and they go together so well. And not to be like doing a plug here, but I've got a Bhagavad Gita you can get on Amazon.com. It's called Yoga Sutras Revolution. And you'll see how the Yoga Sutras and the Bhagavad Gita, they go really well together, because Patanjali knew about the Bhagavad Gita, of course, and so he didn't rewrite the Bhagavad Gita or try to reinterpret or say anything against the Bhagavad. He just explained more. So he takes the Bhagavad Gita and then he talks. He goes on and explains other things about consciousness and yoga. So they complement each other super well. But then to get really deep, you see this book in the shelf here? You see this book here on the top shelf? You see that? That's just one book. That's called the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Purana officially, but people just know it as the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's got 12 cantos and over 14,000 verses. That's like the topmost book. So that's the most incredible book you can read if you want to get into the whole, if you understand this whole path. So that's the most important book, really, in a way, the Srimad Bhagavatam, but it's quite intense, 14,000 some verses. And so that's, I would recommend it, but it's quite a journey, just getting into that. Now, again, to do a little plug here, but my book, The 3T Path, I explain how to practice this whole path. I put it in my style, the simple, direct, simple style of how to put this in practice, how to execute this whole yoga path. So I did that in the 3T path. I explained everything you need to understand, to practice all the different aspects of it. So I would definitely recommend you start with that. I mean, it's my book, but yeah, I definitely recommend that. I mean, I wrote that book so people would have something solid and simple to understand, to put into practice. So the 3T path, and in the 3T path, because it is such a beautiful tradition, I included in the end the sadhana I recommend. And as you might remember from I just said earlier, one of the points of sadhana is daily study. And so for the daily study section in the 3T path, I actually put a list of books I recommend in the order I recommend them. So you can, and there's stuff there for keep you busy for a couple of years. So if you want to get really serious, you can start with the 3T path and then go to the end and then follow that list of books I recommend. Lynn, will the 3 lessons offered this past week be available for a while? Only until tomorrow midnight, because it's like an event we have going here, and it's going to end tomorrow midnight. So if you want to watch anything again, make sure to watch it until tomorrow midnight. Oh, Kavita Patel asks, how do I find my vocational Dharma? So that is, like I said in the class, that is the hardest part. Why is it so hard to find our vocational Dharma? Because we've been taught not to find our dharmas. We've been taught to go after money and fame and status, so probably like me, you were brought up with different goals in mind, like people like the media, schools, maybe your own parents, and they're all telling you basically what you need is like money, fame, and and position and status. And so we were just, unfortunately we were fooled. And it's one of the biggest lies in the world that these things will make you happy. Actually, they won't. There's a great book. There's a great neuroscientist, a psychologist, who says, actually, no, science has proved now that if you're happy, you're successful, and not that if you're successful, you're happy. So it's actually the other way around. You have to be happy first to be successful. So we were brought up with this mistaken concept of what life is and how to do life, how to like live life well. I almost said how to do life well. But so we were brought up with this mistaken concept. So we weren't really geared up. Our school system isn't geared up to like finding who you truly are and really respecting, like, okay, if you have this inclination, you should go for it, and like these days they're doing a better job. But when I was going to school, that wasn't really the message. So, so that complicates matters because we've just been doing it wrong for so long, and all of society is kind of focused on the wrong thing. So we have to first, so one of the key points is to put all this stuff aside. Put aside this idea of success and money and status, just like, forget that. I want to know who I am now first, excuse me. So try to find out who you really are, what's natural to you. So that's one of the big things. Second point is not to look for something that you like to do, but something you can't help but do. Because lots of people like to do lots of things. But what's that one thing you can't help but do? For me, it's teaching. Wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, I end up trying to teach it. It doesn't matter what it is. In any situation, I just can't help but teach. It's just my Dharma. It's just totally into me. Can't help it. Sometimes I joke that if I was sent to one of those labor camps, I'd be like crushing rocks, like in the movies, I'd be crushing rocks with it. The next day I'd be teaching. I'd look, no, hold the hammer like this, and like, no, use your back like this. No, hold it like this. I'd be teaching the guy how to break out the rocks. That's I just can't help it. So what is the thing you can't help but do? Sometimes look back into your like early days, like your teenage years, or you like what were you doing then? What did you like doing then before you got caught up with like money and status and stuff like that? So that's a way for you to help you find your vocational Dharma. There are other tricks, there are other tips. I put some of these tips in my 3T Path book and my videos in this channel. There's some other tips as well. Just being quiet is a good tip. Just going up a mountain, just silence is a good tip. Another tip I like is the lottery winning tip. Like, okay, pretend you won the lottery. Okay, so what are you going to do now? You just won the lottery. You've got millions of dollars. Millions and millions. So what are you going to do with the rest of your life? Oh, I'm just going to sit on the beach drinking, daiquiris. No, you're not. You're going to get super bored. So what are you going to do with your life now that you totally don't have to worry about money? And when that answer, oh, maybe you should start doing that now. That answer is your vocation. All right. Carolyn from New Jersey. Christine, how do I become unattached to the results of my actions? If I meditate to help myself be happier and feel better, isn't that being attached to the results of meditation? Very good question, Christine. So you shouldn't meditate just because you want some result. You should meditate because right then when you're meditating, it's the right thing to do. It's all about focusing on the Dharma. So, oh, I'm doing it because I want to be happy. Okay, well, that's, in general, just I want to be a better person. Those aren't desires. When we talk about attachment, we're talking about superficial desires. For example, oh, I'm doing this job only because I'm making money. And then with this money, I can buy nice things. So that's attachment. Well, I'm doing this because I'll get some prestige and recognition. That's attachment. So that's not going to be good. That's going to leave you with lots of anxiety and fear and insatisfaction and frustration. So we want to shift to just like, okay, right now, what is the best thing for me? What is my duty? So like for when I meditate, I don't even meditate thinking, okay, I'm going to meditate because it's going to make me happy. I meditate because I understand it's my duty, my spiritual Dharma, Sanatana Dharma. It's my spiritual Dharma to meditate. And I can please God meditating. So it's not about me anymore. I'm doing it because it's my duty. I'm doing it because that's what it's called for. That's my essence right now. It's part of my essence to live my spiritual Dharma, to live my spiritual nature, and meditating just makes me live that part better. So I meditate out of spiritual Dharma. So you just bring it to Dharma, you bring it to like living out your essence. You do things to live out your essence. And that isn't, that's not attachment, that's just being yourself. So it's not on a surface level, it's not a calculation of future gain. That's where the problem is. It's when your mind is no longer in the here and now, and you're thinking of some future superficial gain. Then you've lost it. Then you're not in yoga anymore. You've knocked yourself out of the yoga path. If something goes wrong in our lives, people say it's our karma. How do we fix our karma so we can have a better life this birth? Well, for one thing, it's always karma. People have this silly idea that only bad things are karma, but everything is karma. So all the great stuff that's happened in your life is also karma. The fact that you're still alive is karma. In the fact that you're here, everything, and that you have sun in your face and you have food in your belly, this is all good karma. This is all karma. So karma is everything. I hope you guys picked that up from this week. So everything is karma, and you are living your good karma now as well, mixed. And the yoga path, we don't really try to change, like what you do is you just maximize your karma. You just do the best with what life gives you. And the beauty of yoga in the Bhagavad-gita is teaching you how to deal with life. Because that's actually more important than changing it. Much more important. Because people, and the CEOs and the big mansions and the jet, they're also suffering anxiety and fear and frustration and rejection and confusion. They're also feeling all these things. And science has proved it. There's lots of studies showing that above a middle class income, more money does not make you happier. That's been proven already. And, and even, it's not, being handicapped doesn't make you less happy than not being handicapped, and being, so it's not about the surface. It's about your mind. So that's the beauty of yoga. It's how you interpret life that matters. You have complete power to change how you interpret life, no matter what life is. I mean, of course, you don't want to be in a prison camp in North Korea or something. Of course, it can get hellish. Life can get horrible. But, even then, with mental power, you can make it less of a horrible experience, as you have these beautiful, descriptions of people with mental fortitude in like the Nazi concentration camps, how they survived because they had this mental fortitude of reinterpreting their situation. And people who didn't have the right mental fortitude, like they literally didn't survive the same situation. But, let's put aside these extremes for now. Just your regular, life I have, we can vastly change how we interpret the events in our life, vastly change it, because we have this mental power. And that's what yoga wants to awaken, is this mental power that you have. And when you understand things and you can just see whatever's happening, you take that opportunity You accept that opportunity, you accept the challenge, and you see that as an opportunity for development, for new experience, for becoming a bigger, better person from whatever you're facing. Whatever it is, good, bad, mixed, you just take that, okay, that's the focus on Dharma. How can I take this situation and what is the situation called of me? What should I do? What's the best version of myself in this situation, whatever it is, good, bad, or mixed? So then life becomes wonderful, no matter what on the surface level it may look like. It becomes wonderful. Oh, about the course, just to quickly tell you. So I have a full Bhagavad-gita course. I have a complete Bhagavad-gita course with over a semester's equivalent of course load. And it's a unique Bhagavad-gita course in the sense that the methodology we use is that we go through not by verses, but through the content of the Bhagavad-gita, all the important content of the Bhagavad-gita, the different kinds of yoga, the different terms, the different explanations of soul, of God. So all the important topics of the Bhagavad-gita, but using the Bhagavad-gita to explain the Bhagavad-gita. Because what a lot of teachers do is that they will bring in outside influences and interpretations of the Bhagavad-gita, and in this way they kind of distort, sometimes they distort a lot, the meaning of the Bhagavad-gita. But in this course, you'll see that we'll be using the Bhagavad-gita to explain the Bhagavad-gita. It's an academic, systematic study of the topics of the Bhagavad-gita, with the Bhagavad-gita explaining itself. In the end, as a bonus, I have what I call Bhagavad-gita flow, where I do go like in the order of the verses, explain to you quickly, in a matter of only like 3 hours, quickly, but going through all like how the verses tie in together from beginning to end, so you get an idea of how the Bhagavad-gita flows. For this course as well, because you can see, I really like, this personal like attention giving, answering questions and helping students step by step. I love this. So in this course, we give the students join a group. We use the WhatsApp. I don't know if you use WhatsApp, and of course in other countries they use WhatsApp a lot. So we use the WhatsApp, and we use that. We have a little group there for the students, so I'm there 7 days a week in this group. And I answer questions like very quickly, unless it's night, unless I'm sleeping, very quickly I answer. So I'm there 7 days a week. So any question that you have, any doubt about yoga, life, spirituality, the Bhagavad-gita, whatever in this realm, you pop a question there and you'll get an answer. And further, we do a monthly live class like we're doing now. As long as people want it and there are questions, we do a monthly live class like this on YouTube, where I can answer questions, in person. So this complete Bhagavad-gita course, we're going to open a new enrollment for it on Tuesday now. And you'll have until Friday to sign up. The way I see it, you have 3 options. You can continue to live as you do now, if you feel you've fulfilled your potential. Or 2, you can continue to search for a way to live better in the hopes of finding something. Or 3, you can grab this opportunity and start changing your life now with this Bhagavad-gita course. Because I'll tell you one thing, your life will not be the same after absorbing the Bhagavad-gita. It just will not be. And that's just a general experience people have been having for 5,000 years. But let's continue here with other questions. Ashwini Rao says, what are the stages of awakening? How to realize at stages you are and way ahead? Well, it's actually a smooth progress. It's not click, something changed. And Krishna gives several verses in the Bhagavad-gita explaining the mentality of a yogi, sorry. So they're really interesting. So several times Arjuna asks him something like you asked me. So, what's it like? What does it mean to be a full-blown yogi? What does it mean to be a transcendentalist in perfect consciousness? And then Krishna describes it. And he describes all these different qualities the person might have. So then you get these descriptions, and then you can see where you are now with some humility and say, okay, I'm here, and this is what Krishna's describing, so okay. So then you get a feel for like where you are and where you have to go. I'll tell you one thing, though, which Krishna says over and over in the Bhagavad-gita, from beginning to end, one quality that really shows if you're progressing or not. Equanimity. That's the one quality he insists on from beginning to end. You know you're in yoga to the degree that you can practice equanimity. Why? Equanimity means whatever's going on out here, I'm equal. I'm the same. I'm happy. Krishna describes the yogi as being unlimitedly blissful. When you're not in yoga, you're attached to the surface. When you're being a karmi, you're attached to the surface. So then, if things went the way you thought they should go, you're happy. When they go the way that you didn't expect them to go, you didn't want them to go, you're unhappy. Up and down, right? We've all lived like this, right? Up and down, happy now, sad, happy, sad, happy, sad, happy. So this up and down, this roller coaster, that's material life. And yoga wants to bring you to a lower, deeper level where you're already in bliss, where you're finding your own happiness, your own joy. And your joy is, because your joy does come from inside. It doesn't come from outside. Have you ever seen joy walking outside? Oh, look, there's a joy. I'll go grab it now. No, joy doesn't walk out here. Joy is inside. You make your joy. You make your happiness. Only you can do it. And that's the beauty of yoga, of getting deeper in this path, is because you learn how to do that. You learn how to access and create joy, because it's yours to create. So then you learn how to create joy, to access joy, to live this life focused on your here and now and your Dharma and bhakti, which gives infinite pleasure and bliss. And then whatever is happening outside, you're still fixed on the same things in the here and now and Dharma and bhakti. So you develop equanimity. So that's one of the key markers of your progress. Akshay says, Hare Krishna, my question is, although after reading and understanding Bhagavad-gita, still how to make it practically apply in our lives at every moment, make it a habit. Yeah, like I answered before, you really have to live these qualities. You really have to focus inward in Dharma, in the here and now. You have to have that focus, controlling your mind, developing Sattvaguna. That's how you bring Bhagavad-gita to your life on a daily basis. It has to be on a daily basis. There's no, if you're not living Bhagavad-gita on a daily, moment by moment basis, you're not living the Bhagavad-gita. Because nowhere in the Bhagavad-gita is about something you sometimes do, That's what I love about yoga spirituality. There's no like, oh yeah, go to the temple and you go. There's no such thing. There was no concept of going to the temple. This is your temple. God is right here. I'm right here. This is my temple. So you're always on. Either you're in yoga or you're not. And in yoga, it's how you live. So Bhagavad-gita is teaching you how to live at every moment. And it's really like either that's what you're doing, or you're just in mundane, you're just in illusion, right? Maya, if you want to, the term we use in Sanskrit, Maya. Either in Maya or in yoga. And there's no, halfway. Either you're there or you're not. Either you're switched on or you're switched off. Carla, is this Carla Alada or is this Carla Alada? I raise chickens. The eggs never become fertilized. It feels karma free to eat eggs, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it's karma free in your case, because you're so careful controlling that it's not an embryo. But still, it's not Sattvaguna. That's why yogis don't eat eggs. So it's just a detail, no pressure. But in Sattvaguna, we don't eat eggs. Eggs are considered Tamoguna. So they'll give you a bit of that influence of that darkness I talked about before. It's going to limit your mind's potential a little. It's just a detail, but lots of details add up. And that's one of the details. Elizabeth, are we clearing our karma as children, or at what point in our lives of practicing right action and association do we start working towards moksha? Good question. We're always, of course, we're born, we're always like living out our past karma accumulated. And when do we actually start working on our moksha, on our liberation? As soon as you start switching on to yoga, as soon as you're acting yoga. And again, it has to have these three elements I described in class 3. Your mind in the here and now, doing these three must be there for you to be progressing towards liberation. Laurie says, so the purpose of reincarnation is to evolve ourselves through life experiences. So how does coming back, let's say as a dog or cat, help a soul to evolve? Again, because it gives that soul the opportunity to do mundane things it was into, like having family, running around, having sex, playing, eating. So a lot of what people do around us, right? A lot of humans are just on that level. That's all they want to do. You actually have people who say they want to be a dog. And they say they want to be a cat, because they just want to play and eat and have sex and, snuggle up and that's what they want. So then you get to do all that. And then once you get to do that, you say, okay, I did that. Maybe that wasn't as much as I thought it would be. Maybe there's something more. That's what we're all doing here. That's why you guys are here. That's why I'm here. It's because we think there's something more. Like life is beautiful. We love life and we have families and we have work, and that's great. But there's more. And we want more. We're not satisfied with material life. We're not satisfied with just mundane consciousness. We want more. And there is more, because you're actually a transcendental soul and you can access unlimited bliss. So there's actually a lot more. And that's what we're doing. We're getting a lot more. Sachi says, can bhakti be achieved on many paths, including the impersonalist path? Well, Sachi, by definition, the impersonalist path uses bhakti, but not for the real purpose of bhakti. But bhakti means love. So bhakti is the Sanskrit word for devotion, which is love. It's a spiritual love. It's your love of God. So love means the lover. There's the love, and there's the object of the love, right? There's the person who's loving, there's the love, and then there's the object of the lover. And in the impersonalist path, they're just saying it's just Brahman. So there is no more. There is no real bhakti. There's no real love there. There's just the absence of suffering. So it's actually an incomplete. And the Bhagavad-gita clearly explains that that's not, the path is not impersonal, clearly explains. And in this course, we study carefully the Sanskrit, again, not bringing from outside sources. We just let Krishna explain it. That the Bhagavad-gita clearly shows that it's not, that the real path of yoga, really understanding yoga, means that you understand that you are an eternal, existing, individual person. And God is this eternal, existing, infinitely lovable, existing person, Krishna, all attractive Krishna. And then you develop bhakti, which is very natural and easy, because you want to love. And nothing is more lovable than the supreme lovable being, God. So then it becomes very natural. So no, you really need to have the personalist path. Julianne, when we eat plants, are we therefore incorporating that negative energy from their previous life? Right. And Krishna says that in the Bhagavad-gita. And that's why we talked about prasad. That's why I said, you have to understand food yoga. Krishna makes that, he gives us this warning in verse 13 of chapter 3. He says, look, you have to offer your food. It has to be prasad. Because then otherwise, you're just eating sin, he says. Very heavy. He says, Papa. He says, you're eating sin. Because when I kill lettuce, I still kill the lettuce. And I stole it because it's not my lettuce. I didn't make a lettuce body. I can't make a lettuce. Oh, sure, you just plant the seed. Well, that's not me. It's the lettuce is it's God's creation. It's the lettuce. It's not me. I didn't make the earth, the rain, the sun, the lettuce seed. I can't make a lettuce. Right? So when you take the lettuce and you just you just eat it, whoa, that wasn't your property. That was God's property. So you're like a thief and a killer. So that's heavy karma. So you offer it to God, and then you recognize, okay, it's yours, and look, it's just then the cycle is okay. So there was no karma there. I'm doing it out of duty, So you have to respect all life forms for sure, and only kill them when absolutely necessary, and do that only if it's dharma, only if it's part of your dharma, if it's your natural obligation and duty to do so, as it is when we eat. Ooh, so many questions. I wish I could answer all your questions. I don't think I'm going to have time, but I'm loving all these wonderful questions you guys are leaving here. So then Akshay answers, is it possible to be born, to evolve from animal life to human life? How? Yeah, then it's automatically progressing. Once you're below human level, it's like you just take a number and wait to be called. This is an automatic progression. It doesn't depend on the actions of the animal. Gulf Coast, Mississippi, Long Island, Texas, Chicago, Houston, New Jersey, California. Nice. Dublin. All right. Another Brazilian in Dublin, I see. Bernardo, okay. Lynn, would you please comment on using mantra for meditation and techniques for meditating on the self? Thank you. Well, in this channel you guys are watching this live class on, there is a video called Mantra Meditation Japa. So make sure you go ahead and look for that in this channel. It's actually, I think, one of the first videos I posted, so it's way at the beginning. And it's one of the most watched, so you can go to the favorite section as well. So there I teach all about japa meditation and how it's done. And japa meditation is a meditation on the higher self, definitely. So because it's you meditating on the source of yourself. So that's there as well. And I do that every day, and I definitely recommend it. Siddhar says, thanks for the great lecture. Question, what is the difference between vocation and occupation? It's a very important difference. I stress this difference of vocational dharma and occupational dharma. There's a very big difference because not everyone's found their vocation, but everybody is occupied doing something, even if it's just, whatever it is. Being a housewife, you're taking care of your child, you're just looking for a job, that's an occupation. So whatever you're doing, you have an occupational dharma, but you may not necessarily have found your vocational dharma, like what you truly should be doing, your true career calling. So we have to learn how to do well our occupation as well. That's really important. I talk a lot about that because it's not enough, right? Even if you are, let's say I like teaching, but what am I teaching? Where? Under what conditions? So, you may not even appreciate the conditions you're in, but you still might, while you're doing your vocation, you might be having a bad occupational dharma experience, even if you found your vocational dharma. Or you may have found your vocational, or maybe you haven't found your vocational dharma, and that's why you're not enjoying your occupational dharma. So you have to learn how to do work, how to work well, how to be occupied in the right consciousness. So that's occupational dharma. Monica Satya, Monica from LA. Should we give up meat? What is the Vedic view on eating or not eating meat? Well, Monica, it's actually very clear. You should definitely give it up. Eating meat is very tamasic. So Krishna explains what kind of things are tamas for food. Remember I said like food is also a part of yoga. So yeah, meat is definitely tamas. And it's also cruel. It's an added level of cruelty that you can avoid. And the overarching dharmic principle in life is ahimsa. And ahimsa means committing the least amount of violence possible. Like again, you have to eat a lettuce, so you committed violence. You know, sometimes you like slap and you kill mosquitoes. Oh, fine, okay, a mosquito was attacking me, I killed it. So, you know, violence is there, but we commit the least amount of violence possible. So even a child can understand that killing a pig isn't like killing a lettuce, right? I mean, you know, it doesn't, unless you're like really like closed consciousness, really tamasic consciousness. I mean, you can experience the different levels of horror and pain involved, right, in killing a lettuce. Why? You know, we even use this term in medicine, right? We say, oh, the person's in a vegetative state, right? How he's in a vegetative, what is it? So you can cut his heart out, you can pull his heart out, put another heart in. Vegetative state, a person is, you know, can't feel anything. So the vegetables are naturally in a vegetative state. So the less that there's almost no pain involved, because it's, you know, that's what that incarnation is like. But a cow, a pig, a chicken, you know, it's just like, it's a horror show, right? It's a horror show. Plus, science shows that it's actually better for your body not to eat meat, right? The vegan science is, you know, the science is in. It's quite clear now. And, you know, you can fudge the things. You can say, oh, I'm not sure, but basically, it's you know, it's very clear now that veganism is the healthiest option. Again, a balanced diet, blah blah blah. You know, I'm not going to get into that here, but it is the best diet. And red meat, everybody knows, will give you cancer more than if you don't eat red meat. You know, you have an increased chance of cancer. So that's like a fact. Nobody discusses that anymore with red meat, for example. But other meats as well. So, you know, for your dharmic, in terms of your duty and taking care of yourself, it's definitely the way to go. And in terms of the planet, it's a huge thing today. Huge thing. We're here like, you know, we're all talking about coronavirus, but you know, the climate change thing is hanging over our heads, and it's actually more dangerous than coronavirus. So what can we do to avoid death by climate change? Well, there's lots of things we can do, but one thing we can do is we can stop eating animals. And that's going to greatly decrease the emission of methane, you know, greenhouse gases, the destruction. You know, I'm in Brazil right now, in case you haven't noticed. And again, we're having the Amazon being destroyed this year again, because we have a horrible president here. So again, the Amazon's being destroyed. And why do they destroy the Amazon? Why are they burning down the Amazon? To put cows for grazing or to plant soy to feed cows and pigs. That's why. 100%. If there was no meat eating, they would not destroy the Amazon. There's no point. Oh, it's for mining. It's not for mining. You don't just raise down kilometers of Amazon for mining. They don't do that. That's not it. The facts are in. Google did it. Even Google Maps did it. Show, look, where there was forest, now it's it's for grazing. They showed it. Google came out and look, they're just using it for grazing. 60% of all the Amazon forest cut down is today used for grazing cows. 60%. And the others are like, a lot of it is for planting soy and corn to feed animals. So it's a real ecological disaster to eat animals. Don't get me. I get a little riled up with this, you know. But so yeah, it's definitely the way to go. Is to go. You know, traditionally it was lacto-vegetarianism, of course. Gita is a cow herder, you know. But these days cows are so mistreated. But if you can get ahimsa milk, if you can have a little cow and you take care of it, you take the milk, yeah, that's okay. That's nice. You know. But if you're just living in an urban environment and you just go shopping, then veganism is really the way to go, to have a sattvic lifestyle. McAllen, Texas. Okay. Was the Gita written before the Yoga Sutras? Yes, the Gita is thousands of years older than Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Sneha asks, how do you live without anticipating the future? All that we do now is for a better future, correct? What should I practice to live in the present and not anticipate the future? Yeah, it's such a mystery, isn't it? We're like, I asked that exact question to my spiritual master, 25 years ago. I was like, what? I mean, it is like, I'm just so focused on the future. That's all. It's like I'm always doing things to get something else, right? We're just so lost in this fantasy paradigm. It's like a complete, what? It's like, it's like, it's amazing. Like, how can this be possible? But it is possible, and it's the core teaching of the Bhagavad-gita. And we definitely have to do that. And life becomes so much better when you do that. Like, you just correct all these mistaken behaviors, you're much happier, you drastically reduce anxiety and fear and frustration. I mean, just everything becomes better. But how do you do it? Like I explained in class 3, and if you haven't watched, just watch it again. You have to bring your mind to living out your dharmas. You have to develop dharmic consciousness. It's a huge aspect of yoga. You have to okay, what is my duty now? What's the best of me now? What is the best expression of me now? So for example, now, my best expression is teaching as well as I can, answering your question. That's what I'm doing now. When we say goodbye here, then it's Sunday, and I'm probably going to go for a walk with my kids because we live in a beautiful spot here in Brazil. I have this big farm here, and they want to go crystal hunting. We have lots of crystals here in the ground, so we go off to places where the crystals just come out of the ground. So they've asked to do that, so I'm going to be focused on doing that. I'm just going to be walking with my kids looking for crystals, in the here and now, and not with a goal of finding a crystal of making them. No, that's just, I'm just going to be, I'm just here and now, walking in nature, looking at crystals. So that's what you do. You just flow through life, focusing on your essence. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful way to live. But it takes some training. It takes some development. It takes the knowledge and training to be able to do that. Peggy asked, is the drama in the chakra connected with I didn't get that question, the drama in the chakra. Rupa says, I even joke, I says, no drama, dharma. We have to say less drama, more dharma. That's what I say, you have to develop less drama, more dharma. Rupa, how can you make your current karma actions, bad ones, be less impactful for the next births, like prasyachita, so that we get a better life next time? No, Rupa, you have to just, I tell my students, stop with this multi-life planning. You have to use this life you have to use to burn all your karma. That's what the Bhagavad-gita wants to teach you. And Krishna says, look, I don't care who you are, you can become enlightened in this life. Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita. He says even if you're the most sinful person, Krishna says, you can become enlightened in this life. So I'm sure, Rupa, that you're not the most sinful person in this planet. So you can definitely become, even if you were, you can definitely become enlightened in this life. And to become enlightened means to burn all your karma. No more karma. So to do that, you can go back to class 1 and see there's the 3 techniques. Karma yoga, to stop accumulating karma. Jnana yoga, which is the study, which is what we're doing here with the whole Bhagavad-gita course. It's studying and trying to become a better person and really searching out means and ways to become the best person you can be. So Jnana yoga, you burn the lessons, you test out. Don't we test out? Sometimes I'm going to test out of this class. You prove that you have the knowledge so you don't have to take the class. That's how karma works. You test out. So Jnana yoga, testing out. And then bhakti yoga. to really like, why are you even here? Why did you even take birth in the material world? Because you distanced yourself from God. So bhakti yoga, to develop that beautiful love of God. So there's no point in taking birth again. So that's what you have to do, those three things. Ruth, to repeat Sneha, how do we not anticipate? Okay, I hope you got that, Ruth. How do we not anticipate or plan for the future to make it better? We make plans. You should plan. You have to have a plan. Like I had a plan, right? Didn't I schedule this class? That was a plan. We had a schedule. Like, okay, on Sunday 11, I'll be doing this class. So that was a plan. So plans are great. You definitely have to plan, but you don't anticipate. You don't have to like be living in the future, like, oh, that class, oh, I wonder what it's going to be like. Oh no, oh, I'm excited. I'm just like, I made a plan to do this class at 11 today, but then I was back to doing whatever I was doing. Then I was just taking one moment at a time, not even one day at a time, one moment at a time, one Dharma at a time. And then here we are. Now I'm doing it. So you plan things, but you bring your mind, because planning is an activity. You have to sit down. It's something you do in the here and now. Okay, what's the plan for next week for this? And then you plan it, and then you go back to living the plan, not anticipating the results of the plan. Courtney, does the Bhagavad-gita discuss the caste system at all? If so, how does its teachings reconcile the concept of ahimsa with the poor treatment we hear the Dalit group being subjected to? Yeah, no, the caste system is a distortion. What Krishna talks about in the Bhagavad-gita, what you see in the ancient tradition in the Srimad Bhagavatam, is called, the Varnashrama. Varna ashrama. There was a concept that, it's not really applicable these days anymore, but it was, it was effective until the Industrial Revolution. And it was kind of like all over the world it existed until the Industrial Revolution. And the idea was that you had basically 4 general occupations, vocations as it were. You had like manual labor, Shudra. You had like the farmer and shopkeeper, commerce person, Vaishya. You had the ruling class, like the aristocracy, the Kshatriyas, and then you had the intellectual people and the religious, the Brahmanas. So that was the basic concept. In Europe, you had it as well. In Europe, it was like they kind of made it into 3. You had the priests, the royalty, and then everybody else, right? They just called them the commoners. They kind of like conflated Shudras with Vaishyas, right? So basically, in Japan, all over the world, you just basically had this system. It's kind of a natural thing. So, but Krishna explains in the Bhagavad-gita the qualities which make you fit in one of these or not. For example, to be a Kshatriya, it doesn't just mean you're born. It means you have heroism, you have strength, you have determination, you have leadership. Brahmana means you're humble and you're, so there's descriptions of these qualities. So it wasn't by birth, it was by qualification. Now, the caste system is a perversion of this, where it's by birth. It's the equivalent of saying that because you're the children of doctors, then you're a doctor. Which is silly, right? It's just a stupid thing. But that's what the caste system is. It's a perversion of the system. So it's not at all spiritual, and it's not part of yoga. It's just like, it's just the kind of garbage that we humans create. It's just like their version of racism. It's like in America with the racism and, and all sorts of bigotry we've always had in our life. So it's just bigotry. It's not something that's true to the Vedas at all. And Saret asked, does the Bhagavad Gita require veganism, vegetarianism to prevent karma? Yes, because remember I said all food should be offered, because even a vegan meal that's not prasad has karma. But you can only offer foods in sattva, because God wouldn't eat, disgusting foods. He's not going to eat, dead bodies. So you can't offer tamasic food to God. So when you offer something, you have to offer sattvic food. So the sattvic food you offer then is karma-free. So to have a karma-free meal has to be prasad, and prasad has to be, sattvic. So it's actually better. Tina asks, so Monday midnight, yeah, it's going to be, all the classes are available all the way till tomorrow midnight, all day tomorrow. Lori, the cost of the online course, on Tuesday, we're going to send you the whole thing, a link where you're going to see the whole context, all the classes, you can see how it works, the bonus, and the prices. You're going to see it on Tuesday. We'll send you all the details then. We don't have it now to offer you. Sandeep says, how do we enroll in the course? Again, stay focused on your email. Tuesday, 8 a.m. EST. We'll send you the link to enroll, to find out more about the course and to enroll. Hello, this is Mahak from Dallas. I would like to read a simple version of the Bhagavad-gita. Which book would you recommend? So the Bhagavad-gita, a couple of you have asked that, and you asked that on the on the classes as well. And by the way, thank you very much for all those nice comments and questions you left on the classes. So the Bhagavad-gita I recommend is the one I use for the course. It's a very special Bhagavad-gita, and it's called the guide. Excuse me. It's called the Comprehensive Guide to the Bhagavad-gita, a comprehensive guide to Bhagavad-gita with literal translation. That's the title. And it's by my spiritual master, H.D. Goswami. So you'll find it on Amazon, and I can give you the link. Oh, look, I can try to give you the link now. Let me just try to. I'm just going to paste it here, and you can ask for it by email as well if you want. That's the book we use in the course, and that's the one I recommend. It's a beautiful. My spiritual master. Why? I'm not just like, oh, because he's my spiritual master. No, I'm not silly like that. It's because he's actually has a PhD from Harvard. He actually got the fastest PhD in the Sanskrit and Indian Studies department in Harvard in its history. He's a genius. He's like a hyperglot. He speaks like 9 languages. He's like a kind of a genius. So, he's got a PhD from Harvard, and he's been doing this. He's been practicing totally dedicated to spiritual life, living the Bhagavad-gita since 1969, when I was born, by the way. So, it's a very rare combination. And he's from California. I see a couple of you from California. He was born in Los Angeles. So he's a Californian with 50 plus years, 51 years of spiritual practice and the whole academic baggage of a PhD from Harvard. So that is an amazing combination, and the result is really truly astounding. What is the name of the group on WhatsApp? It's not a name. It's a private group just for people who join the course. So when you join the course, we will send you instructions to how to join the group for that, for the WhatsApp group. Oops, I skipped a bit here. Okay. So Rupa says, how do you explain a child who dies at birth? He has not accumulated any karma. Right, no. You can't take birth without karma. Nobody's new. Nobody's arriving now. That's like I said, we arrive as Lord Brahma. Nobody arrives. Why would you arrive in any human body? Even you say, oh, he's going to arrive as the son of Elon Musk and, like a billion. Yeah, but still, that's a crummy birth, in terms of like cosmic reality. So you're going to be born as Zeus, it's still crummy because being Lord Brahma is much better. So, on the cosmic scale of things, life is, it's pretty bad being incarnated. It's actually, it's a real shame being incarnated. It's a bit of a disaster. And, the Bhagavad-gita yoga is trying to say, look, you're just like, it's a terrible situation. Krishna says, this is the place of death. That's what he calls us. This is a place of death and misery. So being incarnated is we make the most of it. I'm happy we make the most of life. I don't want to depress you guys on Sunday, on Father's Day and everything, but basically though, this isn't the right situation for us. And you might have felt that, right? This isn't the right situation. We are eternal living souls. We are pure bliss. We are pure knowledge and bliss. We are pure love. So this is, way below what we are. We're like operating on way below our standards here, right? So everybody's got this karma coming from thousands, millions and millions of lifetimes. So when you take birth as a child, it's not the child is, no, of course he's not accumulating any karma, but he's dying based on his past karma. Yeah. So that's the only explanation. That's why so many people became atheists in the Abrahamic past, because without the explanation of karma, you can't really accept God. It just becomes really weird. You have to okay, whatever. You just kind of don't think about it. You just have to not think about it, because you can't have we call it triple O God, omniscient, omnipresent, and omnibenevolent. You can't have a God that's all good, all powerful, and all knowing, and then have a little innocent baby die, and sometimes in horrible conditions. Why would it's a horrific? It doesn't make sense. A lot of people just became atheistic because they couldn't understand that, because it doesn't make sense. But with karma, then it makes sense. It's okay, no, it's just it's the person created a reality. It was they just needed that, but now they're going on to a new lesson now. That was just a lesson plan. It was a harsh lesson plan, but that soul needed that experience, and now it's going on to better plans. It's kind of, so yeah. Carolyn says, you say there's no temple in yoga. Are ashrams part of one of the religions and not part of yoga practice? Yeah, people created temples and everything, but if you go back, if you study the ancient ways, it really was no ashram, no temple. It really is. I mean, the whole concept of going to the temple, that it's more of a Western influence, Greek influence. And actually, they're studying this now, the big fancy temples in India. It's really it's an influence from 5th century Greece. And the beautiful deities they do now, you didn't have that before. So yoga really is about just you and your life. Sure, you can go to the ashram. Yeah, sure. I mean, this is I live in a yoga retreat center. I set up a yoga retreat. So people come here and they learn and they practice yoga. It's fine. Okay, it's fine. But it's not that you have to come here. I'm saying is you don't have to I have to go to I have to go to the temple and that's my practice. No. You can never go. If you never go to a temple, that's fine, because that's not part of yoga. Everything can be part of yoga, right? I mean, paying my taxes is part of my yoga. Going to the toilet is part of my yoga. Everything is part of yoga, because yoga is how you live, but you don't have to go to the temple. It's not it's not a thing. It helps. It's nice. I like going, it's fine, but it's not, that's what I mean. It's not part of it. So yeah, some people, they made it more religious and this religiosity kind of, because people are used to that, and then they get into that. But that actually distracts you from the real practice of yoga, which is in your heart every day at every moment. That's the real practice. That's what you're going to learn in the Bhagavad-gita. There's no mention of going to the temple in the Bhagavad-gita or the Yoga Sutras, or even in the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, a giant book. There's practically no mention of temples. Not to speak of a requirement of going to the temple. That's just a concept. It wasn't there. How do I connect my soul body? Right, that's yoga, Kavita Patel asked. That's yoga, connecting with your true self, living as a soul. Yoga means you're living as a soul, even while in a body. And that's what yoga is. You start living as a soul today. Hema Patil, how to know that our action is because of past karma or not? That's a very good question, Hema. Your action is never based on karma. That's the thing you have to understand. You choose your action, and your action has to be aligned with your Dharma. So whatever situation I find in, okay, my situation is my karma. But how will I react to this situation? That is my decision, my responsibility. I am not forced to act. I have the power to change the way I react. I have the power to be the best person possible. I have the power to improve myself, self-improvement, self-realization. That is my responsibility and my power. And never forced upon me. I can never say that my action is not my doing. Krishna emphasizes that in the Bhagavad-gita. He says, your responsibility, the good stuff, the bad stuff, your responsibility. Very important. Lori says, how do you make an offering of the food? It's not a religious thing. It's not like, oh, you have to do this mantra and you have to ring a bell. And no. It's from the heart. It's a consciousness thing. You just offer your food, you just, sure, I put my hands together. You just offer your food. If you want to chant a mantra, you can chant mantras. But basically, it's an act of the heart, of your soul. You just connect that food and you offer it with love to God. Kavita says, should I also be giving up drinking milk? Again, Kavita, if you can get ahimsa milk, sure, fine if you want. But, it's such a brutal milk industry. The cows are horribly mistreated. Krishna is Gopala, Govinda. So, yeah, we try to, it's not a big deal, but it's interesting to try to lower that consumption. Angel TC, good morning from Manila, Philippines. All right, we have somebody from the Philippines. Question, if I'm not following my vocational Dharma, but my father is against it, am I going against my Dharma as a daughter? What is the right thing to do? What a great question. I love your question. Yeah, no, your father, he's violating his Dharma. So you missed the third violation of Dharma there. He's violating his Dharma by not letting you live your Dharma. My Dharma as a father, I have 2 young children, my Dharma is to make sure that they're living their Dharma. And I do this they're young. It's like the youngest one is 4 and the other one is 8. But I already keep telling them, oh, money. Oh, I want to do this because I'm going to make lots of money. I said, no. Don't think about money. Think about what's true to you, what you like to do. How do you want to serve the world and help other people and help the world? How can you make the world a better place? And then you monetize that. Then sure, you figure out how to live with that. You want to be an actor, just what you want to do. And then secondary, figure out, how to make a living from it. Because if you can't, then you won't be able to do it and the whole thing's spoiled. So yeah, so that's, you should definitely do your thing. Be true to yourself. Raju asks how to avoid bad thoughts. It's yoga is all about that. It's like what your mind is focused on, learning how to develop the focus, to be able to choose the focus, and the whole lifestyle, the whole package of yoga, like how you eat, how you sleep, developing a sattvic lifestyle, devotion, all these things change completely how you think and the kind of thoughts you have. So yeah, it's all a big movement towards living a better life. Sneha, do you also do Bhagavatam classes? I don't. I do it in Portuguese, but not in English. I'm not offering Bhagavatam classes now. Pratik asks, what about drinking in moderation? Again, it's not like a prerequisite, but it's tamasic. So we don't, in the true yoga path, you don't consume any drugs, alcohol, tobacco. It's like our goal is pure consciousness. So I'm definitely not going to put in something in my body that's going to decrease my pure consciousness. It's all about control of the mind. So I don't want something that's going to lose control of the mind. It just goes in the opposite direction of yoga. So no, we don't indulge. But again, it's just like you'll get there when you get there. You'll feel this time. You'll do the other things, and you feel, okay, it doesn't make sense for me to do that anymore. That's how it works. Even the me, everything. Just chill out. It's not like what can you work on now? What attracts you? Oh, meditate. Okay, I want to start meditating. I want to start doing this. I want to start taking care of my body. I want to start sleeping better. And you just start adding these things. And I talk a lot about this in my book, The 3T Path. As you do these things, then naturally your consciousness increases, evolves. And then naturally you have these things you want to do. Like, oh, okay, maybe it's time for me to stop eating meat. Maybe it's time for me to stop smoking and drinking and doing things. Just naturally it kind of comes to you as you develop your consciousness. It says, if I don't eat meat but still cook for others, family and friends, is it still affecting my karma? There are different versions of that. Our Master Prabhupada said, like, if you're doing it, as an obligation, dharma for your family, then, you don't get any karma. So you have like great spiritual masters saying that there's no karma involved. I have a different view because, Prabhupada also was from the Indian tradition. So there's this whole family obligation. There's more of this focus. But because I'm in the Western tradition, I believe that more in the individual rights. So I preach that because people write to me with that questions all the time, all women. And I think it's just women being harassed. I think it's something we have to leave in the past, this idea that women have to do something they don't want to do for men, for their husbands or for their children. I just tell them, look, screw your husband, screw your children, just do what you think is right, and if you know this is right not to eat meat, if it develops cancer, if it's destroying the world, why would you do it to someone you supposedly love anyway? And hey, we have restaurants, there's takeout, there's restaurants. If they want to eat meat, let them go to a restaurant. But if you're smarter, if you become wiser, if you understand the truth about the horrible side of meat eating, then just don't do it and don't encourage it and don't participate in it. And just tell them, look, if you want it, the kitchen is over here, this is the frying pan, this is the stove, figure it out, just stand your ground. I just say it like that, Okay, well, this is very nice. I wish I could, let's see, let's try to answer a few more questions. Let's see if I can do it. Noel, descobriu que eu sou brasileiro. Hare Krishna. Okay. So my yogic diet. No, my yogic diet is just, simple. It's just vegan, but it's just vegan. Vegan diet. I eat tofu, rice, beans, nuts and bread and just like that. Varied stuff, vegetables, and pasta. And so much to eat. It's no problem. Akshay says, thank you so much for your great wisdom. Hare Krishna, thank you kindly. Subhi, Hare Krishna. Hema, how do you explain the birth the first time in the world? Yeah, the view is that we desired it. I mean, the view is that Krishna explains in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we were all with God because we're all eternal souls. So we're all naturally, that's the starting point is, in the spiritual world, that's our true place, our Swarup. And then we desire to experience something else. We desire to be the center of attraction. We desire to be like, oh, what would it be like if I was the center of attraction and not God? So then you get sucked into this world to experience that. There's a video in this channel where I talk about why are we here. You can look that up here in the channel. Christine says, just wanted to say thank you for the class. Very enjoyable, very informative. Thank you, Christine. Subi asks, from Jnana Yoga, is there a guarantee you can reach supreme goal, or by Bhakti Yoga only can you reach it? Krishna says over and over and over again in the Bhagavad-gita that you have to have Bhakti, over and over again. From chapter 12 all the way to the end, he keeps repeating this message at the end of each chapter, like only with Bhakti, because Bhakti is love. And, the kingdom of God, if you want to call it that, a transcendental world is a world of love. So without love, there's no sense in you being in the kingdom of God. There's no sense of you being in heaven, in Vaikuntha without love, because it's all about love. So love is bhakti. Courtney, Frank, thank you very much for sharing your teachings with us. I've learned so much already, and the teaching really resonates with me. I'll be looking into your full BG class. Okay, Courtney, you'll love it. Kavital, with social media, how can we find a balance to practice our best version online and suppress ego-driven desires when posting online? Yeah, it's a real thing, isn't it? I talk a lot, once in a while, I warn my students about the dangers of social media. It really brings out the worst in us. It's very damaging for our mental health. And this is not just me saying it. I mean, it's researchers studying these things. It's actually especially Instagram, it's very damaging for your soul. It's very difficult to do it nicely and to do it well. I personally do almost nothing personal on social media. You see, my social media presence is entirely professional. I do it only to be able to share my message and help people live better lives. But I've stopped posting stuff, private stuff. I just think it's a bit weird, honestly. But you have to come to that conclusion. But yeah, it's very dangerous. We compare ourselves to others. We feel bad. It's just like it's a world of trouble. Shubi asks, in the busy life of an ordinary person, how can one take out time for spiritual practice without giving up one's occupation? That's the beauty of yoga. That's just such an important question, because yoga is your life. It's done through your life. It's not something separate from your life. It's a very important concept. Very, very important concept to understand how to make yoga, how to make your spiritual life part of your daily life. Your enlightenment is part of your daily life. That's the path of yoga. That's what the Bhagavad-gita is teaching. Okay. I think I'm going to have to stop now because I'm getting a bit tired. I'd just like to thank you so much for all your wonderful questions, for the presence of all of you here. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate and value very much your time. And it really honors me that you've taken your time to be here with me. I love the questions. I love being here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being in Bhagavad-gita. And I hope to see you in our full online course. So I didn't mention it's a 2-year course. We're together for 2 years. So if we're doing 2 years, access to the whole course. So if you can't do it right away, you have plenty of time to see classes over and over again whenever you want them and anytime you want them. So I'm looking forward for that so we can be together there. Thank you so much for everything. Hare Krishna.